Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today we are making brown butter toffee cookies. These cookies are one of my favorite recipes on the whole blog. The recipe is over 5 years old, and I can't believe I didn't already have a video for it. Now, I could go on a lot about how much I love these cookies, but you don't need to hear me rambling. Let's get started so you can make them in your own kitchen. So, as the name implies, we're going to need browned butter to start. So, grab 2 sticks or 1 cup or 226 grams of unsalted butter, and we're going to drop this in a saucepan. Medium-ish sized saucepan. Turn your stovetop heat to just a notch below medium. Melt that butter. And if you've been following my videos for a while, we go over how to brown butter very often, but for anyone who's new here, I wanted to make sure you see how to do it. And while that butter's browning, grab yourself a large heat-proof bowl, because once the butter's browned, we are going to need something to pour it into right away. Once your butter is melted, turn up your heat just a notch above medium, and we're going to stir and swirl it constantly. So as you are cooking it, it's going to start to sputter and pop and crackle. Keep stirring, use a spatula, scrape the bottom of the pan, and we're going to cook this until the butter begins to brown. So you'll know you're done when the foaming and sizzling and popping starts to slow down and you see brown bits on the bottom of your pan. All right, we have some browning. We have some slowing. I'm going to go just a lot of slowing down of the foaming and popping. Just gonna go slightly longer. I want to see a little bit more brown, more golden brown. All right, and let's take this off the heat and we're going to pour it into our bowl. And scrape all of that in there. You want those brown bits in there. Now, it shouldn't be black. It shouldn't smell burnt. If either of those things are the case, you will need to start over. But it's honestly pretty easy to identify if you accidentally burned the butter because it smells bitter and burnt. Now, before you can finish with this recipe, hi Brea, before you can finish with this recipe, the butter needs to cool completely. It cannot feel warm to the touch or else your sugar is going to melt. I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but we're going to let this sit until it's cooled. Not re-solidified, but cooled. All my animals are making a lot of noise right now. While the butter is cooling, you can go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit because, well, we have to wait for the butter to cool. We do not need to chill the cookie dough separately, which is one thing I love about this. All right, we'll see you in like 30 minutes. Okay, once your butter has cooled completely, meaning no longer warm to the touch at all, we can proceed with the recipe. First thing up is our brown sugar. You'll need a cup or 200 grams of firmly packed brown sugar. You can use all light brown sugar. I like to use a blend of light and dark. I don't use all dark brown sugar though, because it's a little bit richer and makes the cookie a little sweeter than I prefer it to be. We're also using a little bit of granulated sugar. This is 2/3 cup or 135 grams. And we'll stir together the butter and the sugars first. So the cooler your butter is, the less your cookies will spread. My butter had actually started to re-solidify a little bit, which means my cookies are going to be slightly thicker than if the butter was completely liquid or even a teeny tiny bit warm, which it shouldn't be. All right, next we need eggs. You need 2 large eggs. I know somebody's gonna comment on how I say eggs. Eggs for today's recipe. So 2 large eggs, these should be room temperature because the rest of our ingredients are not cold, so we don't want to add cold eggs to the dough. What that could do is it could kind of start to seize up the butter and it just makes the dough not come together as nicely as it should. All right, we'll add these. And we're also going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. 1.5 teaspoons is the same as half a tablespoon. So I'm using my handy half tablespoon measurement here, but not everyone has one, which is why I say 1.5 teaspoons. You can see the little specks from my vanilla extract. I love seeing that in a cookie dough. This is my homemade vanilla extract, make it myself. I do have a full blog post tutorial and video on how to make homemade vanilla extract. If you want to check that out, makes a great gift. And this one is over a year old now, so it's nice and potent. This smells amazing. The brown butter, the vanilla extract. I feel like I say this all the time, but this is one of my favorite cookie recipes. All right, slide this out of the way because we are ready for our dry ingredients. You will need 2 3/4 cup or 350 grams of all-purpose flour. And we are going to add a teaspoon of cornstarch, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of baking soda, and 3/4 teaspoon of table salt. Let's whisk this together. Let's gradually add the dry ingredients to the wet. I usually do this in like 3 or 4 parts. You can obviously make these cookies any time of year, but something about them just really seems fall appropriate to me. I don't know if it's the brown butter, the extra splash of vanilla, the toffee. It's just, they're a really nice fall cookie. Every time, you know, the air gets a little crisp, I want to make a batch of these. Would definitely be a good addition to your Christmas cookie tray because anyone who tries them is going to be obsessed. Oh. I was about to move on to the baking step. I forgot a very important step. The next thing that you need for this recipe is the toffee bits. So we're using the milk chocolate toffee bits. I think they're called like Heath bar bits often. So it's milk chocolate and toffee. We're going to add a cup, which is 170 grams, and stir this into the dough. All right, now there's no chilling needed, so as long as your oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, forgot for a second what the temperature was, but I remembered, you can grab your baking pan, line it with parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, you're just gonna bake it on an ungreased baking sheet, but I do have parchment paper. I like to use it. We're going to scoop these cookies by rounded 1.5 tablespoons. I love this cookie scoop. I'll try to remember to link to it. It's about 45 grams of dough per cookie. Now you can drop these cookies right on the baking sheet and they'll be fine. No problem with that. Make sure you're spacing them 2 inches apart, or you can gently roll the cookies between your palms, which is going to give them a more uniform appearance. I'll do a few of each just so you can decide for yourself what you like better. All right, we're going to take these over to our 350 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven. They're going to need to bake for about 10 to 12 minutes in the center rack. Good way to tell that they're done baking is the edges should be turning a very light golden brown. The centers may look slightly underdone. They should look pretty soft still. This is what you want because we're going to let the cookies cool completely on the baking sheet. This is going to let them finish cooking through. If we pulled them out when the centers were fully baked, like 100%, they're going to still continue to bake and they're going to end up being more dry and crumbly than I want them to be. We want them soft and chewy, and we want them soft and chewy for days. All right, I don't know what happened in the oven that these two ended up so close to each other because that is not 2 inches. What I want to talk about now is the salt. Once the cookies come out of the oven while they're still warm, so within 2 minutes of them coming out of the oven, we're going to add a sprinkle of sea salt, coarse sea salt. All right, we'll let these cool on the baking sheet. Obviously, continue to bake your cookies. You should get a little over 2 dozen cookies with this recipe. And once they are cooled, or at least warm enough to pick up without falling apart, you can go ahead and dig in. I really love this recipe. I really can't wait to hear what you think about it. If you try it, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. I really do always love hearing from you. Also, anyone who likes this recipe is probably also going to love my worst chocolate chip cookie recipe. So if you haven't tried that one, put that on your list to do next. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. This cookie is too warm for me to really pick it up, but that's when they're the best. Oh yeah. This is amazing. It's always been amazing. So good.